name.
Because we decide whether to pull the plants out or not, and it's just unheal them and not freeze them.
Yeah, I remember when I was talking with my brother, either just before or just after that, street snows, that earlier in February. I thought, I don't remember anything. Oh yeah, we had a big one last year. Okay. I don't measure my life by the number of snows we had in one.
Okay, if we have no internet issues, I think we're good.
Fuel industry one time, we had a whole shipment
Oh, well, no,
I was waiting to
see.
of axes used and war bags, seaweed and stuff, and it told us over 5,000 pounds. Massive. And we sat on the rock and that really freeze.
That's not good.
Yeah. So you got to kind of get it in early to keep and the insurance doesn't cover it.
I have 659. Okay. I did. So we'll go ahead and get started, but before we start the official meeting, there is something that the town council wants to present. Marshall Taylor, will you come up here? It's not a pink slip, it's not even pink.
What are you doing here?
I didn't have anything better to do.
What kind of reaction is that? What are you doing here?
It's always such fun at these meetings, so I didn't want to miss anything.
Okay.
It's kind of boring compared to yours.
So, a few weeks ago, some of you might know, some of you might not know, Scott got called to a very terrible situation involving a child and a dog. And I was with Scott when he got the call. We were standing there talking about a snowblower because it didn't have gas in it, and I didn't realize that. And he assumed the position, you know, the one where they hold their ear and they touch the volume on their radio because something's coming in. And without hesitation, without skipping a beat, Scott literally ran to his car, got in, and took off. And I was like, oh, I don't know what's happening. I don't go that fast for anything except like a good sale at my favorite store. So I figured it had to be something. Come to find out it was this terrible call that Scott responded to. So I'll just go ahead and read. Here's a plaque. This is a certificate of commendation awarded to Robert Scott Taylor. On February 3rd, 2022, Dayton Town Marshal Robert Scott Taylor responded to a 911 call of two young girls being attacked by the family's dog. When he arrived, he found a 12-year-old girl being mauled by a large pit bull in the backyard. The sister was trying to fight off the dog, but it would not release her. After freeing a frozen gate, Marshal Taylor was able to tase the animal and secure the sister safely in his police car. The injured girl was treated by Sheffield Township Volunteer Fire and EMS, and she was transported to IU and later Riley Children's Hospital due to the severity of her injuries. Thanks to Marshal Taylor's heroic efforts, a much more tragic result was prevented. It's with great pride that the Dayton Town Council now awards him this certificate of commendation in recognition of his exceptional service to the Dayton community.
Thank you. Good job.
Oh,
Could we get some pictures or?
now, later,
Or later,
after?
later? Okay.
Oh, you want
Just so council doesn't all scoot out.
yeah, nobody leave. Before picture time.
I was going to count the kids.
Did anyone else?
Brianna would have been a long trip for her.
Do you want to say anything, Scott? I guess I didn't give you an
Thank you.
opportunity. Okay, okay.
He's such a talker.
He does enough of that during the day.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so this is a special meeting of the Dayton Town Council, Wednesday, February 23rd, 2022. We'll take a roll call. Ashley?
Here.
Stan,
Here.
Ron,
Here.
Carla,
Present.
and I'm present, so we are all here. So the only two things on the agenda are the clerk treasurer vacancy and the minutes that I sent you guys. So first off, the clerk treasurer vacancy. So,
We have no council present?
council, oh, Alicia, no, she can come. But I talked to her about it beforehand, so, the same stuff I sent you guys, the IC, codes, and like the timeline and stuff, she agreed with. So, we need to fill the position within 30 days of the resignation, and there are three, possibilities. So the first possibility, would be to appoint a qualified person, a qualified resident of Dayton. That's obviously not worked out well in the past, and I don't believe that we have any qualified individuals. The second is an interlocal agreement with another town in Indiana where their clerk treasurer would assume the duties. And I did reach out to a town, but they're just too busy. They had so much going on in their own town that they weren't able to do it. And so the third option is appoint a board member as clerk treasurer, ex officio clerk treasurer. They don't get any additional pay. And then we can contract with outside consultants. So seeing as we have no residents to appoint and the interlocal agreement didn't work out, I feel like option 3 is the best option and the option that we're gonna need to go with. So,
Have we solicited town residents to see if anybody's interested in the position?
has anyone come to you?
No, they haven't, but,
Okay.
it's a job opening of sorts, although it is an elected position,
Yeah,
I thought maybe advertise or whatever, and see if there's.
right. So, the problem I think is that the state of how things are now in that office really needs somebody that knows what they're doing and can go in there and get the job done, instead of just appointing, like, it wouldn't be fair to that person to be like, and you're gonna be clerk treasurer, welcome to this office, and then expect them to do all the things that haven't been done and that need to get done. You know what I'm saying?
Not to mention the time constraint.
Well, there are people out there that could help in that position, help advise, consultants and such.
Yeah,
And, you guys kind of been against using consultants for a clerk treasurer benefit in the past, but, I think, sooner or later, we'll need a clerk treasurer, somebody to fill that vacancy.
yeah.
And I don't know why don't we give out the business of finding that person?
So, I'm not against using consultants for the clerk treasurer. I feel like we've used them, financial consultants, whatever, budget,
Several times in the past, when the clerk treasurer asked for help, you denied it, but go ahead.
an attorney. Okay, so the problem with just putting a resident in there and then hiring consultants to help them is that we would have to pay that resident a hefty salary and then also pay the consultants,
Right,
right?
right.
So, appointing a board member, they don't receive additional pay, and then we can hire the outside consultants to get things in order. We really need a qualified person in there, not just a person willing.
Well,
You know.
I understand that, and that's why you solicit resumes and stuff like that. You may be surprised at qualified people in this town that, may be willing to take a look at the position.
Yeah, unfortunately, no one's here, so
Well, and what's our deadline?
we have to fill the position within 30 days of the resignation.
Which was,
The 7th.
so that means March 7th. So you'd have to get it advertised, and you'd have to wait for something to come in, and then try to interview them. I don't think we meet our deadline. Even if we did that, I don't think we meet the deadline.
I think Jen's right on this. I've been helping up here and sorting stuff. This office actually is in shambles. And, taking over and everything, we've been through this several times, and we need to act extremely fast. Things haven't been done for 3 years or so on several items, so we need to clean this up and take our time, clean it up, get everything up to order. But sometime get through an audit, and then we need to, look and have everything ready to go. Like Jen said, it's very unfair that it just won't work. We've been through these too many times. You have mass chaos up here. You'd be trying to train somebody along with trying to get everything in order, and then also you'd have a lot of cross-contamination and things. Things just need to be brought up to snuff, first of all, so.
I personally think we need to hire a clerk treasurer after we have an audit and everything is, so there's no finger pointing to the new person did this or that. When the books are back to satisfy the state.
That's a good point, and I would agree with that. I think that that would be the fairest thing for the outgoing clerk treasurer and for the incoming clerk treasurer. I think the audit would, and we know we've got one coming, we just don't know, it's just not been scheduled, to my knowledge, correct, Jen?
Right, we don't know.
Yeah, so I think that that would be, in my understanding, in the past, we've done that when we try to get an audit done when the clerk treasurer's left before the new ones come in. And I don't see any reason to avert that.
There's always that overlap there, but yeah, you're correct, in between clerk treasurer, you do try to get audit, but,
Right.
the exact date one leaves and another one starts.
Correct,
Never.
but we know we've got one coming. They just haven't scheduled us yet. And so I think that this is a good stopgap. We appoint someone as a figurehead from the council, and we have a professional coming in who knows what needs to be done, how to do it, and get it done correctly. If there's stuff that hasn't been completed, maybe we can get that done as well. And then let's look and see who, see who would be interested and who we could appoint, and that gives us some breathing room to try and find someone and vet someone and get a resume and someone who might be interested for after the audit. And I think that makes the most sense as far as just hiring practice.
So what is the timeline here?
Based on that, I think that all depends on the audit. I would hope in 6 months or less, but I don't know, because until we know when the audit's scheduled, there's no way to gauge that. But I would hope, I don't know, have you talked with anybody down there?
Not as far as timeframes.
I would hope that if they're not aware, that we're gonna make them aware of the situation that we're in, that our clerk treasurer has resigned, and the situation that we're in, and so maybe they would push our audit forward, back, up on the timeline, up on their list, I don't know which way to say that, so that we move up on the list, and that they would be willing to come in and do the audit sooner rather than later, and, but until I presume Jen would be the one to contact, whoever needs to be contacted about that, so that they're aware of the situation if they're not already, so that, that's the hope.
Seems in some ways, now would be a good time, go ahead and have a board member do it, but also, we take resumes and interview for that position. And, maybe we find the right person here in town, I think probably the right person is in town somewhere, we just don't know it. They could be getting trained as, we're, the board members,
And I think that could be a possibility, but I think right now, I think we need to deal with the emergent situation, which is, we don't have a clerk treasurer. We have 3 options. The first 2 don't sound viable, so our only option right now, which is what I think we're looking at, is let's fill the stopgap, let's see about getting that person appointed from the board and finding the professional to come in and do the work. And then we can address how do we want to advertise, how do we want to do that, and those kinds of things. I think that that's step 2 of this process. I don't think that's tonight's process. My opinion.
Yeah.
I agree.
I agree.
I think there needs to be some timelines with this.
But we just don't know, actually, because we've just got in there.
Well, you may be waiting 2 years for an audit.
No, not just for the audit, I just mean in general, so the resignation came in the 7th, but in order to even get into anything, we were left with no passwords, no PIN number, no access, nothing. So it's been phone call after waiting on hold, after email, after going here, after going there to get into the thing. So we're just now getting into things. And we've already discovered so many things that have not been done, and not just by this clerk treasurer, but maybe even the one before her on some of the things that really need to be caught back up. And so that's why I'm saying we don't know the timeline for that, because what all is that gonna entail and how long is that gonna take? I have no idea. You know what I'm saying? Like, find the documents that we need to do the thing.
There's a lot that needs, I've been through it, you know,
There
before. There's a
always is.
lot that needs
Yeah.
to be
You
caught.
know,
Well,
I've been on board for, quite a while, okay, and there's, there's always this stuff, okay, I get it, I understand that, okay,
Well, I think to your point, what you're trying to do, if I'm understanding you, is you're wanting to get a timeline for when we can start, when we would advertise locally, or outward. Which I don't necessarily think I'm opposed to, and we could take resumes. When we would necessarily start interviewing, we can gauge that a little bit better down the road. When we would appoint, would be based on that. But I think let's take care of our emergent situation first. When's our next regular meeting?
14.
So maybe we could address it maybe at the next meeting, or,
Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
or at least bring in some ideas or thoughts as far as, how do you think that step should go? How do you think that step should go? Right now, as I said, I think that's step 2 in the hiring or appointing process. Right now, I think we need to deal with just step 1, and then we'll figure out step 2. But step 1 has a definite deadline that I think we need to meet, and getting someone appointed and someone in here so they can start doing the work to do the cleanup and get things in order so that we know what's happening. Again, my opinion.
I agree with that.
I agree.
Resident comments.
Cindy Marsh, 749 Shady Lane, and as a resident, I just want to point out that this is not a new situation for Dayton. In 2018, when Lena Merkel moved out of town, the council appointed the part-time utility clerk, who at that time was, 24 years old and a college student, and that did not work out, to put it mildly. When she left, the office was in a shambles, and that time, they actually did take, I guess you'd call it applications or letters of interest or something, and considered a number of applicants and narrowed it down, and they ended up picking Michelle. But from a resident's perspective, the people that have taken that job the last couple times have no idea what's involved. And to start from scratch as a new person with no history in working in municipal government, you're just asking for disaster, because I think it's overwhelming. The amount of work that needs to be done, and as a result, nothing gets done. And it's left in a mess for the next person down the road. So I'm glad to hear you guys considering bringing in professionals. So do these professionals have qualifications to make them eligible?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
All
resident comment? Okay. So, I feel like 4 of us are on board with option number 3. Maybe we're all on board with option number 3, but Ashley would like to see a timeline. I just don't think we can call a timeline right now. Like Carla said, I'm not opposed to a timeline in the future, but right now we just don't know. It's just.
Jen, could I add on one more comment? I just want to point out that it can only be until the next election, so that would be the worst
Oh.
case scenario.
I thought that went without
If it
saying.
went that long, it would end at the next election,
Right,
if it went that long.
right. Okay, so now we need to pick a board member to appoint clerk treasurer. I don't know if there's anyone that wanted to maybe volunteer to be that board member. I didn't know, anyone?
I would.
Oh, thanks, Ron. Thanks for volunteering. Okay. So I would move to appoint Ron as ex officio clerk treasurer, and then contract with outside consultants.
I second that.
Okay. It's been a motion made by myself to appoint Ron, and then contract with outside consultants to fill our clerk treasurer position. Is there any discussion before we vote? Okay. Ashley, how do you vote?
No,
Stan?
Yes,
Ron?
Yes,
I don't know if you can.
we could vote.
Okay.
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
And I vote yes. So, that passes 5-0.
4 to 1.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. Thank you. Ashley voted no. 4-1. Maybe 3-1 if you weren't allowed to vote. Okay, the next thing, the only other thing is the minutes, and I sent these to you. There are 8 of them. So I move to approve the following minutes. December 13th, 2021 Utility Board, December 13th, 2021 Town Council, January 3rd, 2022 Special Meeting, January 10th, 2022 Utility Board, January 10th, 2022 Town Council, January 24th, 2022 Special Meeting, January 29th, 2022 Special Meeting, and February 8th, 2022 Special Meeting.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion made by myself and seconded by Carlo to approve these minutes. Is there any discussion? Okay, we'll take a vote to approve these minutes. How do you vote, Ashley?
no,
Stan?
yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
And I vote yes, so they're all approved, 4-1. Okay, having no other business before us, this meeting is adjourned.
Council,
No, I didn't have council comments in here.
okay.
Okay, we're adjourned.